For me at Wesleyan, those first days were disorienting, they were confusing, they were exciting. I met some great people who are still friends, and it was an extraordinarily heady time, a bewildering and eventually very productive time. Although when I was 18, I certainly didn't know that. I didn't know that how it would work out, of course. And what I've come to think over the years, in going to a lot of arrival days and seeing these moments of ambivalence, so let's go, or no, wait a minute, that it's pretty simple what we want from our students at Wesleyan. And I have a daughter who is a senior going to be a senior in high school. So you could all help me, actually, because she's looking for a school just like Wesleyan where her parents don't work. So all of you can tell me what was the second choice. You can tell me, for your kids, because we're going to be doing a lot of visits. But I think that I want for her, and I want for your sons and daughters, I want for all our students, that these three things happen while they're students at Wesleyan. The first thing is that they discover what they love to do. And you've heard people say that. People talk about that in colleges and universities all the time. People should find their passion, and that's one way people... Somebody told me you should say like to do. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to love it. I thought that's really downsizing prematurely. I know things are tough out there. But I really think students, what happens at a college or university like Wesleyan is that people discover what they love to do, and not just what they've been told they're good at. I mean, all your sons and daughters, all the students who are coming here, they've done well. They've done something very well. And if you don't know what that is, you've been a little too detached, I think I could say. They've done something really well. They've done something really, I was trying to think of a nice thing to say, I couldn't think. They've something really well, and they come to a place like Wesleyan, and they could very easily say, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm really good at physics. I'm really good at football, or I'm really good at physics and football. I'm a lineman, leverage, right? Or I'm really good at theater. I'm really good at biology. I'm really whatever. Because how do I know I'm really good? My teachers have told me. My parents tell me. Don't you hate when students say, or your kids say, well, I'm not a literature person, or I'm not a math person, or I'm not really into the arts. It's like it's closing a door on a big part of the universe that doesn't have to be closed. So what I hope happens at Wesleyan is some of these accidents that Dean Mike was talking about, that something happens where they encounter art or quantitative analysis or music or sports, and they say, gosh, I really am moved by that. That really excites me. That really awakes me in some measure. I am more awake now than I was before. You've seen that in your kids, haven't you? When they come back from school every day. How's it going? Fine. Door closes. The earbuds are in. How's it today? Fine. And then sometimes something happens where your son or daughter, our students, they come in and you can see it. Their faces are aglow, their eyes are, and that's not for that other reason. It's just because something has happened. They've heard a music of the world that was not audible to them before. My daughter, she started going to museums with a class, and she said, I can't draw, I don't like going. And then suddenly she's like, Daddy, I want to take you to the museum. It's like, this is some kind of trick. She needs money, I thought. But no, it was because somehow she had a great teacher, and suddenly she was looking at something she had looked at before. And she saw it for the first time. It's so exciting. And it happens with people. You can walk by a guy all the time and not even notice him. And then suddenly, you notice him. You feel alive in his presence or her presence. You are awake to more than you were before. That will happen to your sons and daughters. That will happen to our students because of the kind of community we have, because of the professors we have, for sure, but also because of the other students we have who will say to them, you know, you're missing something, man. Put these headphones on and listen to this, or go to this art exhibition, or you should take this rad biology course. I don't know if people say rad anymore, actually. One of my students told me to say that many years ago. And they become more alive. And so that's what I mean by discovering what they love to do. Discovering also what they're capable of doing. That they are capable of seeing something they didn't see before, or hearing something they didn't hear before. And that is the part that segues to the second thing I want them to get while they're students at Wesleyan. I want them to get better at something they really care about. It's not enough, in my view, to discover something that really turns you on, that's exciting. That's good, that's important, but it's not enough. What you also should do while you're in college is learn to do something better than you could do it before. It's a real challenge at a place like Wesleyan because we take so many smart people. You know, they're not any dumber than when they graduate, but are they more capable? And the answer, I think, is yes. I'm determined to show you that that answer is yes. That when they graduate from Wesleyan, they are more capable because they've gotten better at the things they care about. They've gotten better at what they love to do. And that's hard. That's a hard process. Most of your students have gotten mostly A's most of their lives. And you think they're all really smart. And a lot of students at Wesleyan get a lot of A's. But what I really hope happens to them is they start getting a couple of C's. Somebody just went, ugh. Right? I remember so well when a young guy came to my office. He was taking, he was taking the Passed on Film. Of course, I'm giving this semester on movies and philosophy. And they watch really accessible films, and they read very inaccessible texts. and he came to my office. He's a big guy. And he threw the paper down on the desk, and he said, President Roth, I'm not the kind of guy who gets a C. I said, well, congratulations. You've just expanded your horizon. He was less amused than you are. And he was irate. Not just entitled, he might have been that too, but he was irate because he was so used to success. He works hard. It's not just because kings came easily, he works hard. And I said to him, you work hard? And he told me so. I worked hard on this paper. And then I told him, it's not cool to do that. If you do badly on a paper, you should say, oh, really? I don't even remember writing that. My Wesleyan professor told me that, because when he gave me a C, and I came to his office and said, I can't believe you gave me a C. He said, that's the wrong attitude. If you had done the reading in the Italian Renaissance that I had assigned, you would realize what you're supposed to do as a courtier is to walk in and say, a C? God, I can't believe you gave me a C. Show disdain for those who judge you. Again, my student was not amused. Instead, he said to me, very great words, actually. He said to me, what do I have to do to get better in this class? And at first, I thought he wanted to make a donation to the university. and that's Barbara Jan Wilson, who's sitting here, who is the head of fundraising. But no, that's not what he meant. He wanted to know what he could do. And I gave him an assignment. I gave him extra work. I gave him work all the time. And this guy worked his butt off in this class, and he wound up getting a B+ or an A- in the class, and he was so proud of that grade, and we would see each other all the time. In fact, I just congratulated him. He just got a new job. He's been successfully, gainfully employed all after college. He's just got a new job at another university. Sent him a note congratulating him. And I think we have our little, it's not a secret actually, because I'm telling all of you, but we have our thing together because he knows that he had to do more than he was accustomed to in this class. He had to overcome that kind of knock on the head. I remember as a student when I had a terrifically great teacher, Carl Shorsky, went on to win the Pulitzer Prize. He was my teacher. He was my doctoral advisor at Princeton. I remember getting a paperback from him when I was a junior, I guess, or something like that, and on Freud, of course, naturally. And I was reading the comments, and it said, I got a decent grade or something, but it said, Mr. Roth, you have an awkward, wooden, style. Learn to write. Oh, man, you can tell I still remember word for word. He's 99 years old, Carl Shorsky, and a dear friend and someone I love. I had a teacher as a freshman in philosophy, Mike Davis, who, on my last paper of the final for the course of freshman year, I wrote, Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most important philosophers in the Western tradition, says blah, 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 blah. And in the margin, he wrote, Mr. Roth, you are in no position to make this claim. Oh, wait. If you want to make claims like this, you ought to learn how to spell Nietzsche. I was humiliated. And I could have, had there been cell phones in that time, I could have called home. My father would not have answered. But if my mother were home, she would have answered, and she would have taken my side. She wouldn't have called the university, but she would have asked, do we know anybody I could call? And they didn't. And I tell you all of these semi-funny stories because when it happens, please don't call and say, my Janie has never gotten a B+ before, how dare you, or my Harry has never gotten a C+ before, or tell your student to talk to the professor and to get back to work. Because if they discover what they love to do and they get better at it, they'll get better at it because they get challenged, because they are told that the design they came up with doesn't work, or the painting they made is terrible, or the scientific experiment they made doesn't actually conform to the methodologies that have been approved, et cetera, et cetera. And through that process of challenge, disappointment, and hard work, they will eventually find their paths to success, real success. Not phony success. They will get better at what they love to do. And then lastly, they will learn at Wesleyan how to share that work with others. And here's what we haven't done as well in liberal arts colleges as we used to do. Way back in the day. We haven't, in recent years, we haven't been as articulate as we should be about how our students can translate what they learn in our institutions to what they're going to do once they leave the campus. This new book of mine is called Beyond the University because what I've argued in that book is that it's not about what happens for 4 years on the campus that matters. It's about how those 4 or 3 years on campus or 2 years in some, very rarely, but occasionally I suppose, how those years on campus inform the person's life forevermore. How they are more productive, how they have more power after they graduate because of the experiences they've had on campus. The heroic Wesleyan president, Victor Butterfield, used to tell the freshman class every year, if you look back at Wesleyan and say, these were the best 4 years of your lives, we will have failed you. Now, I know you all love your kids, and you might think, why do they have to be transformed? They're fine. They're perfect the way they are. Like my mother would have said. Whereas my father would say, transform them, transform them. We come back to ambivalence. I hope what you will find, for you and for your students' sake, is that they are transformed into the people they were meant to be. That they become who they really are. More alive, more vivid, more empathic, more productive, more effective, smarter, and independence of mind and generosity of spirit is what we say. They already show signs of that. We expect they'll show great signs of it in the future. Thank you for being part of Wesleyan, and go Wes!